growing up, I wanted to prove my dad that it was okay to have a girl child and allow them to do whatever they're going to do, and they're going to do well in it. So one of my major goals in being a journalist is how do we change the narrative? How do we tell our stories as Africans and not allow anyone else to tell our stories? Because we believe who feels it know it. So I can tell my story better than anyone else. Presently, if you look at journalists, what people think, they're enemies, they ask too much questions, but in reality, they bring in conversations that are supposed to inspire people and more of make the world a better place for everybody. I think I want to just tell the world that it is possible for you to follow your heart and do whatever you want to do. Never let anyone limit you. The more you teach, the more you know, and the more you practice, the more you become better at it.
In a world where dreams know no boundaries, meet Haddy Gaye, a young Gambian feminist, finally a journalism student, and a beacon of empowerment. With aspirations as diverse as her talents, Haddy is not just carving a path for herself, but illuminating the way for others. Join Haddy Gaye on her mission to empower girls through education and advocacy. Together, let's build a world where every dream, no matter how big or bold, is within reach.
Deja.
Yes.
Better yet, Kajatu or Haddy Gaye.
Haddy Gaye.
Why is humanity important to you?
I believe basically the world is one planet and we should be each other's brothers and each other's keeper. So my idea of serving humanity is united we are and oneness is what defines mankind.
MashaAllah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Of course, going through your profile, you are currently a journalism student. At the same time, you aspire to be an electrical
engineer.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about that part of journalism. Of course, I love to believe it's been inspired by your passion for humanity.
Yes. So growing up, most of the times everybody say I am very vocal. I talk a lot about things that are happening in society that I'm not okay about. But at some point, I went into the technical, more into the science field. But after some years, I decided to come back because of the power. I believe as journalists and as watchdogs of society, we have so many things to do, and we have to change the narratives within our society. And one of my major things growing up, I think, was the idea of how do they tell the stories of Black people, of Africans in Africa. And I was like, most of the time, the idea of single story grow faster than you can even imagine. So one of my major goals in being a journalist is how do we change the narrative? How do we tell our stories as Africans and not allow anyone else to tell our stories? Because we believe who feels it know it. So I can tell my story better than anyone else.
What would you say, apart from the fact that you want to change the narrative, how would you define what journalism is?
For me, journalism means creating awareness. Journalism means being there for each other. But most importantly, journalism means speaking up for yourself and being there for every single person in the society. Because presently, if you look at journalists, what people think, they're enemies, they ask too much questions, but in reality, they bring in conversations that are supposed to inspire people and more of make the world a better place for everybody.
That's very beautiful. Now, for instance, I have a camera where I can write, I publish stories. What am I? Am I free to be called a journalist?
I agree with a lot of people because I believe there are people that join the list and they are also journalists. For instance, most of the times, if you're a speaker, you're a writer, you can document pictures, people actually say you're a journalist. But I think the idea of journalism is deeper than taking that pen or writing that story. I think it comes from within, from how much we empower society, not just with the pen and the stories we publish.
Beautiful. Electric engineer also popped in.
Yes.
Why so? Tell us what that means.
Yeah, so growing up, I grew up in an extended family where most of the times I see my dad or people say, you are female, so you have certain limitations. And I think that even at a young age, made me stand out as a feminist within our family. I disagree with a lot of things that my parents say or my mom will say, "Jigen nga li nga wara def ak fi nga wara em." And immediately I was done with grade 9. Even though everybody was thinking I was going to do art, I was like, no, I think I have to go and do technical. I was in a class of about 50 students, almost 3 to 4 girls. And I hate technical, I hate constructing, but I love math. So even though it was hard, I was coping a little bit. I think growing up, I wanted to prove my dad that it was okay to have a girl child and allow them to do whatever they're going to do, and they're going to do well in it. But presently, if you ask me why do I venture into technical or why do I want to be an electrical engineer, I think I want to just tell the world that it is possible for you to follow your heart and do whatever you want to do. Never let anyone limit you. I think presently I want to be an engineer because I believe being an engineer is fun. Like, it expands your creativity. It makes you think even beyond your own imagination. Years ago, it was my dad, but today, it is the world. It is how much we have to evolve and change the narrative of other young women that are coming up alongside.
It really interests me that you like mathematics. But I'm sure most, being in class and having my classmates tell me that math is something really difficult. How did you develop that liking? Or was it innate, if you like?
I think math is a lot about curiosity, and it's a lot about finding solutions to things you don't even know. And the moment you find yourself in a society where there are a lot of negative things around you, especially being a female, I think you need to challenge yourself to be up to standard. And for me, it was always like, because people tell me, if you're good in speaking and writing, you can never do very well in math. And I was like, no, I think it is impossible. I think it is possible. It is just up to our mindset and how much we put in this. So I spent a lot of my time practicing maths and teaching other people. So I fell in love with math. So even after I graduate, that was something that I liked doing, because I was like, the more you teach, the more you know, and the more you practice, the more you become better at it.
Beautiful. I like one thing you've said, which is practice. I think most often than not, we do not practice. Hence the reason why it's really difficult for majority of us not finding or excelling when it comes to the mathematics field.
Yeah.
Okay. Quite an impeccable story so far. You having to be someone that values so much humanity, of course, in the aspect of journalism, of course, in the aspect of the technical perspective as well. You are also involved very well when it comes to inspiring. Now, can you connect that footing to your childhood? Of course, the reason you went into electric, you've mentioned because you wanted to prove your dad wrong.
Yeah.
What was it that you felt was wrong? And how can you connect that to whom you have, or you are becoming now?
Okay. I think basically growing up, I've seen my mom being a very strong pillar in our life. And I've grown up to a certain stage where, okay, this is becoming emotional.
Aww.
I have my older sister graduate from high school, but she needed to stop, even though she was extremely smart, and not to go to university just to provide an opportunity for us growing up. So because of that childhood drama of she's the first, she's a female, she had to be up to standard, she has to stand for my mom, she has to protect us. I think that has changed a lot of my mindset of how I think and how I see things.
These are one or two things that would push you as a younger child, if you like, having grown up in society where you feel that you have to do twice as much as the other gender, you know. So I can quite resonate, and you know, thumbs up to her.
Yeah, I think she's a very, very strong young woman.
Right, yeah. Obviously. So is it the one that she motivates you or inspires you into?
I think she's one of my main motivation, but a lot of times I tend to tell myself, putting my sister out of the picture, I think I'll tell people I am like my biggest support system, my biggest motivator, because I know if things are really hard, I need to put myself together. And I need to push myself, because I cannot because I feel like most of the times we grow up that we find our motivation in other people. If they change or they act another way, we tend to miss our paths as human. And I wanted that not to be my story. I wanted my story to be like, even though I'm looking up to you, even though you inspire me, but I've seen myself going farther and farther, and I cannot allow myself stay low at some time. Yeah, I think all women outside there that are doing extremely well motivate me every single day to be the best version of myself.
Beautiful. I like that. Because you said that, I remember a quote from the Minister of Finance, and then he said that when you read, it's like you now are not limited within the experience of, that is to say, your own experience, but now you get the experiences of other people. Mm-hmm. So basically, the fact that sometimes we dwell so much on what the other party has to, or they're doing to motivate us, oftentimes, especially when you look at the society, because we are also meant to understand that the society we grow up in either shape us to becoming who we are. And oftentimes, because we choose to be different, so it means, therefore, we are now living that very society that we are, because oftentimes what we get is not the so good of what we choose to become. So the fact that you realizing that, and having other people, of course, other women that motivate you. So do you have any instances where, or when you felt that you really needed, or you watched any inspirational woman that at that instant motivated you to becoming, becoming better at what you do?
Yeah, I think for me personally, right now I would tell my parents, everybody, that I'm a feminist.
Right.
And I think it is the idea that every woman I see excelling in whatever they're doing, that is a source of motivation for me. I think it is as little as maybe the mom that has to go to the market to carry her child and be selling. For me, that is an enough motivation for me. And I think women in general, but in specific, I would say Auntie Yasin have been one of those sources of motivation for me, in the way she speaks, the way she carry herself, the way she always break the cultural norms and value and have to stand out as a woman no matter what. I think for me that have been a constant motivation for me every single day. If I feel like it's hard, I cannot go, I'm like, somebody outside there need me. So if I stop, an entire generation is going to suffer. So I cannot be emotional at this moment and stop. I need to push a little bit.
Obviously, it means you need to be strong, because you have other young people who probably you are inspiring.
Yes.
Now, come to think of it, when we say inspiration, I'm sure someone somewhere would be wondering, when we say inspiration, what actually are we talking about? What is your understanding of that topic?
Yeah, I think inspiration, most of the times, if we talk about it, we only look at the positive side of it. Like somebody needs to do something good within the society to inspire you. But I think some of the greatest inspirations we get are from the negative parts of the culture, are from the part of the culture that nobody dares to talk about, or are from the part of the culture that if you talk about, everybody say, ki hamud bopa, mete ki dafa so, mete the way you carry yourself.
Right.
But for me, inspiration is anything that you have to do that uplifts your spirit, that makes you think about something in a different manner, that pushes you to see things from a different perspective or from a different angle.
Beautiful. Of course, now you are being an inspirator to your younger self, right?
Yes.
Why did you choose to take that path?
I think I dare to be different no matter what. I think it's the idea that I need to stand out. I cannot belittle myself or my dreams or tell myself that is enough for you. I like most of people will say the sky is the limit, and I always tell myself, for me, the sky is the beginning of another milestone. So there is no limitation in where I can go in my imagination, in how well I can help and be the better version of myself, but also make the community a place that everybody will want to live in.
Of course, that explains your definition of humanity, which you've highlighted. But can you tell us an instance where you feel demotivated and you felt the only way out was you inspiring yourself?
Okay. I think this happened a lot and a lot of times. I think one of it was like the recent hot cake in the Gambia when everybody talk about FGMC. And during this moment, because no matter how much I want to have conversations with my parents, because my dad is somebody that believes so much in religion, that is, these are religion, right? If the religion say this, you dare not go against. And most of the times, I think he looks at me like, because of the Western education you have, it is very hard for me like to limit you or say, do this, you have to do this or this. I think during those moments, they're extremely hard, even though my heart was heavy and I don't know how well to have conversations with my parents about this. I always need to tell myself, it's okay. I think you will grow up to this stage one day where you will sit down with your dad and talk about FGMC without fear of what is he going to say? Is he going to disown you or not? But is he going to look at you as human and just value your thoughts and respect you for whatever you believe in?
Oh, as you were saying that, I'm resonating because, and I'm sure many of us would resonate to that, because of our cultural settings. Of course, issues of FGM, well, now it's changing because as it's portrayed Western education and so that is really, really brave of you. But how would you describe your childhood? Of course, you've mentioned your dad is very religious, and oftentimes society would either push you not to put your child in a Western education.
Yes.
Instead in the madrasas or so.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you have described your childhood when it comes to education, coming up from a background that is so religious in that sense? How was it for you in terms of your Western education and all that?
I think I'll consider myself to be lucky because out of our entire family, from my dad's side, I think we are almost like the only girls that got the opportunity to go to school. Apart from those, it is my cousin and my brothers. But most of the times, I think for me, it was the idea of, I took myself to nursery school. I was not going to wait for my dad or like anybody. My mom asked me to go sell. And after I was done, I took the money, went to the nearest nursery school. And I was like, what can I do to start?
Aww.
And I think from there, I have told my parents that I don't need any money from them to go to school. I was going to fund my education from there. And I'm working very hard.
And how old were you then?
I don't know.
Very young.
I think very young, maybe around 5, 6.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I realized I just spent an year in nursery school and they had to promote me to go to secondary level basic school where I got scholarship to another school. I think for me it was the idea of I need to push through no matter what. And I've been taking care of my school fees, I would say, from that day till age. I'm not allowing my parents to at least invest or anybody to invest to feel like you have a chance in whatever I do.
And how are you able to do that?
One, I think I needed to do very well at school. I know that in order to get a scholarship, you at least need to be among the A students. And you need to be outspoken in order to tell people that you need to invest on me. I think until now, if I'm having conversations with my cousins, I will tell them, I don't want you to do anything. Just want you to invest in my education. And in return, I'm going to pay you someday soon. And since grade 7 till university, staffers have been a main source because I need to go spend my hours, do community service, and get a scholarship in return to take care of myself and my school. And I was just a mentor in training for 3 months compared to people that have to spend maybe an year or 2. I knew that I needed scholarship, so I needed to work extremely hard in 3 months to get that scholarship and go to the university.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
I mean, I am very inspired. So when you say you needed to work really hard, what does that involve?
Yeah, I think a lot of times I will tell people I don't study, but a lot of people will say that is not possible because if you don't study, how will you contribute? But I spend a lot of my time listening to lecturers if they are speaking, and another time, like, I love listening to people. Whether it is up to me, I need to go on TikTok because I love technology. I need to go on the social media to find what is happening in order to at least know something, because I don't want to go to any class or any forum where I feel like I don't know what to say, because I feel like always as a woman you have a voice and you need to be equipped in order to exercise that voice. So in working extremely hard, not just in classroom but outside classroom, learning from people all around, but most of the times to read your notes. I know people are different. Some of us are visual learners, others need to go and read. I think knowing the mechanism and making good use of it.
Oh, yeah. It's important that you said that, because oftentimes, like you've put it, it's important that we are advised always to read, because having understood the importance of reading, in a sense that it goes beyond what your experience is, because your experience alone is not enough. But it's also important, you've mentioned the fact that you watch out. You're always on the other different social media platforms, but also when you're in class, you are someone that listens very very keenly to the lecturers, because you don't want to miss out. Hence, you're not the type that read a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So at this point, I'm second to say, what would you say has been your guiding force? Apart, of course, you've mentioned your sister. What else can you say has been your guiding force? Like, looking at your story so far, I can quite say it has been very consistent. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes life pushes us to want to take a different path. Yeah. Even though you've told yourself, okay, I am determined. I want to make sure that I get this, right? Even though I'm pushed because of circumstances, I've chosen this path because I want to prove someone wrong. Yeah. Sometimes certain things will come in the picture, but still, you're being persistent.
Like I was saying, for me, inspiration doesn't always have to be positive. Like sometimes it could be the negative things that push you. I think my guiding force ever since I was young was my dad, because it was the idea of, I knew that I had younger siblings that were coming up, but I also had an entire community that was going to look up to me. I had an entire family, like an entire village that I need to show that there's another angle of life. Oh, we don't always have to view things in a negative perspective. So like I would say, my baby self, I would tell my younger self more of the time, everything I was doing was to prove my dad wrong. But I think right now it is everything I was doing was to prove my dad that every woman is powerful enough to move, and every woman is powerful enough to change the narrative, but to also show my mom that how much the power of education and what education can do for every girl child outside there.
Yeah. And do you think you've succeeded in doing that?
I think yes, because right now, like, I have a very, very cool relationship with my dad, and my mom will call me every single time to check on me and to ask me feedbacks what I think, even though I'm one of the youngest in the family. But I feel like I have built up that standard for myself. Like, my age does not really matter. What really matters is what can I put on the table, or what contribution can I bring in order to build that trust between me and my mom. And I know that even though it's extremely hard, even though in this culture it's hard, there are certain conversations you don't have with your mom or your parents cannot tell you certain things because you're their child. But I believe my mom will call me even in the middle of the night to tell me certain things because of how much I've presented myself to be to her, and how much I've shown that, like, my age apart, maybe we could be really close friends. I think it would be never give up. Don't give up or don't quit no matter what. Just push.
Yes. Just keep pushing.
Yes.
Regardless the circumstances, of course, using your story as an example.
source, maybe it will be Nelson Mandela. I think he has proven to the world that like there is never an end to your story. No matter how worse or no matter how difficult it is, you can always stand back strong and you can change the narrative, right? After 25 years in prison, he came back. And he has been an icon for every African or every person that is growing up within that continent, within this continent, and for centuries. And I would say for years and years to come, we will continue using his story as a model and we will learn it. And it will just inspire us to be better. Overnight, I think one thing it will make sure everybody in the world live peacefully. We are all happy and we are all here for each other, just to smile and accompany each other no matter what. We have a lot of mangoes in Lamen.
Okay, I definitely will come for that.
I like spicy stuff. I would say kucha. Yeah. I also like super cat. No. How do we use this one? Pepper soup.
Pepper soup, okay.
Yeah. Feminism.
What is feminism?
Okay, I think feminism for me is the idea of giving everybody the right that they deserve, but most importantly, promoting women for them to know that like they are powerful enough to stand and be there for themselves. And I think a lot of times people would say the idea of 50-50. And I would tell people, maybe you have a misconception about gender equality and gender equity. I think feminism talks more about gender equity, giving every person what they deserve. I don't agree with the educational system at all. But one piece of academic advice or advice in academia, I think it will be, you need to research to find out stuff for yourself. Don't just limit yourself with what the lecturer or what your teacher is providing for you. You need to find things outside the box.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But what is it that you've not agreed on when it comes to the educational system?
So I'm a debater. So I believe like the educational system is not fit for purpose, because if I'm a child and I'm growing up and I have a feeling that I love tech, and maybe from childhood, that is when I should be provided platform or areas where I explore my interest in tech. But you realize that you will have a child, they will go all the way to grade 12. They will not even know how to operate a computer or their mobile phone. Most of the time, you go to the market and they scam you with the kind of electric gadgets you get, and you consider yourself an intellectual. You have been to school, you have graduated, but you cannot still find out those little things that are basic for everybody. I feel like the educational system, they need to rethink. They need to restructure to the system, to the fact that every child from a young age can find their purpose and start working towards their path, and not wait until when you have to go to university, or sometimes even graduate with their BSc degrees and they don't know what they want to do.
True.
I think the lucky ones are the ones maybe that have mentors or that have people that have guided you from a young age, or seen your passion and groom you from that time. But 90% of the unlucky ones they keep on pushing us from one grade to another, from knowing the math, knowing the English, knowing the systematic study of nature that you will never use, or knowing Pythagoras' theorem that is not beneficial to the journalist, right? I think most of the things they're giving us, they're not fit for purpose, and we cannot compete with international standards with those curriculum they're providing for us.
So if you are given the opportunity, of course, which you are, to speak to the ministry that is responsible, what would you advise them to do?
I'll say talk to the young people. Let them tell you what they want and not what you want for them. Because I think we know better what we want. the child has so much to share, and if you don't listen to that child, you will never know it. You cannot make a decision for a child and not allow them to talk about, maybe we want the school system to have a music and dance club where we can dance, or maybe we want to have a singing part of the curriculum. Then you're allowing the child and having them see the fun and the beauty of education, and not just a fixed structure that they have to follow. You cannot do it. Oh, you are a woman, so do not try that.
Beautiful. Now, what would you tell that young person who currently is in that situation where they're demotivated? They are told because they are women, they can achieve so and so.
I think I would tell them, one, is that person God? Like, who wrote your destination? Or who tell you, here is where you're supposed to stop or not? And God haven't sent any being on earth to be a messenger to tell you, here is your limitation, here is not your limitation. I think you just need to believe in God and know that you have a purpose and you have to fulfill it. You need to, if they're not standing in front of you and they're talking about, you need to stop on the side where you're blue, you're pink. As far as you know you're not blue and pink, you keep on moving. I think the world is one planet, so let us just love on one another.
Yeah. It has been a pleasure.
Thank
and
you.
I'm really happy that we had you here on Generation Next. You know what? You're going to take me along. Take me along because I am inspired and motivated. Of course, that's all time has given us, and I am motivated at this point, and I'm sure any young person who is currently watching this is motivated. Generation Next, Mohammed and Betty, thank you always for making sure that we are live. And please don't forget to share, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you so much. We are seeing the comments, they're coming in. Keep them coming so we would be better at our production, of course, with your contribution. Thank you so much. On behalf of my production team,
yes,
DJ and I are signing out. Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.